Hello everyone, my name is Crimson and welcome back to another Let's Talk. After seeing the last one actually get some amount of views, which is something that I am not used to, I decided maybe I really should continue trying to make these, because it seems like there are people interested in just hearing a somewhat normal voice out there, someone who's not radicalized in the ways that are offensive at least. And so maybe I'll just keep making these and see where they go, because I got a lot of thoughts and I don't hear a lot of people who are talking sense anymore, and it's kind of unnerving. In the background, you'll be seeing my first Minecraft world, Minecraft LOL. I did have a project where I was remaking the entire world and updating it. Unfortunately, those files got corrupted many years ago, which led to me just not playing this world again for a long time. But I figured I will try and get back into it and see what I can do. And it's also a good excuse to record some footage on it and work on that while I am talking about random nonsense. Or at least it might feel a little bit like random nonsense now, but we'll see what it feels like later. One thing I wanted to point out was I am a big fan of the old Warhammer lore. You probably saw me, or at least you saw Emerald leaving some messages about, the Femstodes controversy, which I was waiting for something like that to happen. My history with Warhammer is a little bit unique. I first discovered Warhammer many years ago. I think it might have actually been the first sort of nerd hobby I'd ever seen in person, but I did not understand what it was at that time. I just saw a little game store. It was called 2D4, named after the dice, which I didn't understand the joke of the name back then, but I do now and I love it. It was ran by a guy who turned out, I believe it was ran by a guy, or they had hired a guy that turned out to be a thief and kind of robbed a couple stores before he vanished. Kind of a suck situation for people that were involved. It was sad, but aside from that, I do remember seeing the terrain and the tabletops and how cool everything looked. I was about 9-ish, and it was right around the same time that I also discovered a little game called Mage Knight, which had some amazing models. My dad took me into that store. I don't know why. As much of a nerd as he was for Star Trek and stuff, he was not a super classic nerd. So I don't know why he took me in there. It probably was to buy drugs. If I want to be honest, he was probably buying some stoner material, because my dad was an old school hippie. And that's not putting him down for it. That's just saying, he had connections with people that sold things, and they were selling things in that store. So, I didn't know that back then, but I do now. But to a 9-year-old, seeing all the cool terrain was the most awesome toys that a 9-year-old could imagine. Now, granted, obviously they're not quote-unquote toys, and you don't want 9-year-olds playing with them because they're going to break the styrofoam and everything, but it was my first interaction with Warhammer as a concept. As tabletop war games as a concept, even just RPGs and role-playing games as a concept. And that was really cool to see. Years later, of course, I did get into the nerd stuff. I did meet some friends that had a lot of interest in Warhammer, and they haven't had armies, but of course, Warhammer is... I don't know what to say about it. It is basically not a poor man's hobby, if you can follow. They overprice their plastic toys so freaking much. And back when they were the only game in town, so to speak, that was more understandable. But nowadays, you can literally get 3D prints from Etsy that are, if not as good, close enough to where you will never see the difference on your tabletop. And you can get them for half the price, a third of the price most of the time. So you don't really need to pay Games Workshop a lot of money. But back in the day, that wasn't really an option. My buddies had gotten... Some of my buddies were into it, and they had armies, and they were always talking about the lore and, like, what it was. And I remember following along, like... I remember hearing the idea of, like, they had gay space elves that had lesbian characters and stuff, and I was like, oh, that's awesome. I like lesbian characters. I love Yuri. Yuri's one of my favorite genres. I didn't realize at the time that Yuri and gay are, although very similar, entirely different genres, and they should not be confused, because when you confuse them, you cause problems. And I have noticed that in the Western Yuri community, which is really just a disguise for people that aren't actually fans of Yuri trying to claim the Japanese title because they're doing the same thing that they do with everything else. The woke crowd do that always. My experience, though, was it was a game for basically rich people, in my opinion, because I didn't make enough money to ever even think about trying to get into the game. And then I kind of put it away. I got a couple books. I got the Grey Knights trilogy, which is, I'm going to be honest, for as bad as parts of them are, because they're just Warhammer's poorly written sometimes, and that's just the case of it. Like, yeah, it's awesome, but don't confuse awesome with good writing. You can have things be really cool and not have them be very well written. That's perfectly fine. But I really didn't have a lot of experience. It was like mostly just those books, and sometimes I would accidentally see like a story or something online of Warhammer. It wasn't until I got a better job and a better place in my life, because I had gone through a really dark patch in my life that kind of pushed me around and made me see reality a little bit differently. When I got over that, though, I was in a place where I could actually start investing into Warhammer, and very quickly, because I'm a fan of little tiny toys, just, I love them. Micro Machines, you name it. I got big into it, and I also like the fact that even though it's not really well written, it functions on the rule of cool, and so it's epically written. I can forgive some of the really stupid lore decisions and some of the inconsistencies so long as things are cool. Just put a chainsword in someone's hand and have them fight an orc, and I will be happy. That's all you gotta do. Male fantasy, or whatever you want to call it. Which, given the fact that Warhammer is a series about war and hyperviolence, yeah, it's for boys. Girls are also in it. I've seen a couple of girls now that like it, but it's mainly for boys. It's not about romance. It's not about, other stuff that I personally like. Like Steven Universe is about feelings and sharing and the power of love and friendship. It's not about those. Steven Universe, I can make the argument of it's for everyone. My Little Pony, I can make the argument of it's technically for girls, but a lot of guys like it too. Warhammer is almost exclusively for men, but girls can also like it, and that's perfectly fine. I really like it when girls like action movies. It's really cool. Like, why shouldn't they get to enjoy the stuff we do? Just, don't change it. Let them appreciate it for what it is. Like, I wouldn't go into strawberry shortcake and say, nah, we need to start giving them guns because the guys aren't going to like strawberry shortcake if it's all girl material. That's not very good. I'm not going to do that. That'd be stupid of me. But, you know, I got into it. I got into the lore. I got into the armies. I owned... Oh, good lord. I owned like 7 armies. I became a whale overnight. Thousands of dollars. Maybe even up to $10,000 have been spent in this hobby in the span of about 4 years. Now, the big problem is, I had left the cult of woke before I got into Warhammer. So when I saw Warhammer, it appealed to my brain in the same way that Dragon Ball Z does. Big actiony men doing big actiony fights that if I want to, I can write hyper gay fanfictions of, but I understand that that's a fanfiction and should not be canon. And I do like my hyper gay fanfiction. I want all of my custodies to be oiled up naked buff guys, okay? That's it. No girls allowed. They're yucky. But, you know, that's what I want for my fanfiction, but I don't want that in canon. See, if it was in canon, it would come off so comically wrong to the genre that it would not be Warhammer anymore, and thus, the thing I'm making fanfiction of, I wouldn't be making fanfiction. I would just go somewhere else and make fanfiction of something else. But in 2020, I saw it. They came up with that Warhammer's for Everyone video, statement, which, you know, I am a very open-minded person, obviously. I love Steven Universe. I write tons of Yuri and gay fiction. I don't make normal things. And I don't think I've done a, solo relationship in a while. I've done mostly polyamory relationships in writing. Because I feel like there's a void there that needs to be filled. Lots of voids filled with lots of things, am I right? But the problem is, when I saw that, I'm not stupid. I have left the cult of woke before that. I saw through their disguise. I saw through their illusion, their brainwashing material, where they say one thing, but they actually mean another. And just like with religion, and I don't mean all religion is bad. Individuals in religions are good. Small communities of religions are good. Corporatized religions are bad. Okay? Corporatized religions are bad. And, that's where the big religions tend to go, and I don't personally like that. I think it should be a small community thing where people are actually for the people in the community, but that's another side thing. When I saw the Warhammer's for Everyone, what it really said to me is, Warhammer is for everyone so long as you agree with our decisions and ideals and you do not argue with us, ever. And I'm like, hold up. Then it's not for everyone. It's actually for, almost no one, because we're all humans. Humans have unpopular opinions. Humans have bad takes. Humans have weird decisions, and humans are, above all else, rebellious little shitheads, okay? We do not take kindly to someone telling us what to think, what to do, and how to act. Even if it's for our own best interest, we do not like this, and we will respond in aggressive ways when we hear it. And so the moment I saw that, I'm like, you guys made a mistake. I don't want to be part of this because I refuse to be told how to think. Period. And, that was the start of it. It was in that moment that I felt really, really dumb, because I'm like, oh, I spent so much money on this. Why did I spend so much money on this thing that's clearly going to hate me for not agreeing with everything they say, like I'm an indoctrinated little slave, like I'm some kind of super Christian? No, I'm not going to do that. I don't advocate for anyone to do that, because humans are meant to be free, wild, and absolutely insane. Okay? That's my opinion. I will stick to it. But now that that had happened, I basically had wasted $10,000, I felt like. It didn't help that, I started seeing the history of Games Workshop and realized that Games Workshop was always a bad company. They don't like their fans. They don't respect their fans. They just want money, and they want you to suck up and deal with it. Whether it was the atrocity of how they ended Warhammer Fantasy to make Age of Sigmar, or it was the wokehammer, or it was destroying the planet Cadia, which a lot of guardsmen were mad about, or removing the Rough Riders for 1 edition, which made a lot of guards players mad again. There was also the removal of the squats, and then when they did bring them back, they weren't squats. I don't know what these dwarf-like things are, but they're not squats. Not even close. And they also had some other things. I'm sure there was some Tyranid players that really liked the original Tyranids before they all looked like H.E. Geiger's stuff, right? I'm sure there's a lot of players that liked the kind of atrocious designs. I don't like them personally, but I see what they were going for. And I can see why people would like them. Or the Gene Stealer cults and how they had a pimp mobile. Or the Sisters of Battle and how they were basically vanished. Yeah, the Sisters of Battle were vanished for like 20 years. It sucked. But when they did bring the Sisters of Battle back, they messed them up in my opinion. The Sisters were supposed to be hot. Like, no lie. They are sexy ladies with guns. They are the bolter bitches. But they brought them back and they were not very sexy. You could still paint them sexy and model them sexy, but, they weren't designed to be that way. And I felt like, this isn't right. This is why I won't play Slaanesh, because if I was playing Slaanesh, I'd be buying the original models with the nip-nops and everything, because that's what Slaanesh was supposed to be. It's not what they are now, but it's what they were supposed to be. But I begrudgingly accepted Slaanesh being censored, but I do not accept the bolter bitches being censored. That is just too much. But then we get into the more modern stuff, which is, by the time we got to 10th edition, I was already out of the gameplay loop. However, I still have some friends that love playing the game itself, and I was thinking, maybe I'd like to play. I hear there's a new Custodes Codex coming out, and I've been wanting to buy their army for a while because an army filled with naked buff men? Sign me up. I will oil those boys up and put them on the battlefield. They will be my bears to my otter. But then they did something absolutely stupid. And I know most players would have begrudgingly accepted the idea that, Mr. Cal made female Custodes because he is apparently magic and can ruin everything. Hello, Primaris. I didn't see you there. Did you come here to ruin the Firstborn a second time? Oh, they're all gone? Ah, such a shame. Seriously, screw them. My first army in 8th edition even was all Firstborn Marines, and I refused to play Primaris for a while because, geez, I love the Firstborn. Why would you do that? Oh yeah, Games Workshop sucks. But, I know a lot of players would have accepted it if Cal had made female Custodes because magic. However, that's not what they did. They decided to lie to us and say, no, the sons of Terra, the firstborn male children of Terra, have always had females in their group. We just called the Brotherhood a brotherhood, but we just ignored the females. Which, everyone on the planet has pointed out the problems with this. One, it actually makes the women in the Custodes seem like they're actually bad at their job, which is really bad. That's like people saying women can't drive. Like, dude, what the hell? In your quest for wokeness, you ended up accidentally saying something horribly sexist. But that's how wokeness works. You try to have an ideal that's based on good foundations, and then your actions are terrible. Which is why I left the Cult of Woke, really, but I also hate brainwashing. Next to that, like, they gaslit fans, they lied to us, they betrayed our trust, and then the community went split in half, and it sucks, because it's like, this is the most hyper-masculine thing I can actually think of, and they don't respect their core audience, the people that actually pay them money. And I know Games Workshop has never respected the people that give them money, but give us something. And then I discovered Trench Crusade. Thankfully, I discovered it after the woke ideals had been, revealed, because I was about to jump into it and be like, oh, this is awesome. Hyper-masculinity, hyper-Christianity, hyper-demonanity. And, like, I'm weird enough to where I will be, like, both, yes, I want to sleep with the demons, and I respect the Christians for being the good guys. There's no shame in wanting to play the bad guys. Alright? Sometimes you want to be Team Rocket. There is nothing wrong with wanting to be Team Rocket. That's really fun to do on occasion. Unfortunately, Trench Crusade's developers showed their hands. If it had just been like the crazy woke fans from 28 Magazine, cool, we could ignore them. They're not real. It was the developers that got me to go, nope, I'll just go away. If I would like to make something, but if I do, it's not going to be woke, and it's also not going to be conservative. It's going to be something actually meant for everybody to find a peace. There will be badass lesbians with guns and their boobs showing, and there will also be horrible demons that are objectively bad guys, and there might be super Christian warriors that are objectively good guys. But I am not going to make something that's super conservative, and I won't make something that's super left. It's going to be more in the middle. Bring back the things we had in the 90s and the early 2000s. Why can't we have sanity again? I don't understand it. But that's neither here nor there, because I'm probably not going to make that yet. I might eventually. I can't make gameplay for it, but I can make a setting. And then you can just attach it to Grimdark Future and play it any way you want. Who cares? I don't really have a lot more to say than that. Just that I don't like the wokehammer ideology. I did love my gay space elves. I mean, for fudge's sake, the Flamin' Hot Gay Eldar Pink Army by Robin Williams is just one of the best things I'd ever heard, and it was him who got me to want to buy, and did buy, an army of Eldar, and I painted them all buff. I painted their skin-tight suits as skin color so that they'd look like an army of buff dudes that are just working out and trying to get some people to, lift some weight, bruh. Oh, it was so much fun. Unfortunately, that didn't pan out because Warhammer doesn't like you. GW does not like you. And these woke people, they probably won't care. They'll probably leave and go somewhere else before it's all done, but the ones who do care and really thought that this would be a place for them, give it about 5 to 10 years. They're gonna get betrayed too. That's just what GW does. Sorry. Sucks for us too. But you're gonna learn the hard way that GW doesn't love you. They love the imagination of money. Not actual money, because they're not gonna get paid for this, but what they imagine they'll be paid for is what they love. But we'll see. This is a whole controversy that's talked about better by many other people. I recommend Arch's videos on it because, although I don't always agree with him, he has also not shown himself to be a homophobe, so I will watch his stuff until I am otherwise proven that he is a bigot. Because I don't think he's a bigot. I think he just wants some masculine stuff, and he's sick and tired of this stuff. But, other than that, I just want to say thank you guys for watching if you managed to watch the entire video, and wherever you are, hope you have a wonderful day, and adios.